to be told.
This is the 2017 Hearthstone Summer Championship!
There you can see it. Coming off that bracket surrender, fresh off of his win, he is through to the World Championships. Joining Purple, but we got 2 more decider matches ready for you today. It's the Hearthstone Championship Tour Summer Championship. We're headed into our 3rd quarterfinal match. I'm TJ Sanders, joined by Nathan the Admiral, that's Admirable, Zamora, and boy, is this a big one.
That's right, Admirable. And I couldn't be more excited. We already have 2 players that are well-deserving of a World Championship appearance. One of them with Purple already getting there. And in the next match coming up, we have another player who's been to a World Championship and top-4'd it just last year in 2016 with Jasonzhou.
Now, TJ, he is coming up against one of the newcomers to the Hearthstone Championship Tour scene with OldBoy. And yesterday, I have to say, I was a bit concerned. OldBoy's play looked a little shaky, and he looked very exhausted during his match. And it was just moments into it that exhaustion looked like it was showing through.
Yeah, it really did. So we'll see if he's going to be well-rested and able to play today. But it's time to bring out our players for the 3rd quarterfinal of the day. The first player representing Ukraine, it's OldBoy.
As we mentioned, a newcomer to the scene, but still some unanswered questions. This match, though, he's got something to prove.
And his opponent, the last remaining Chinese player in the field, it's Jasonzhou.
Jasonzhou was touted for his Control Warrior mastery, but he'll be facing off against Control Warrior in this match.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get our 3rd quarterfinal underway.
Quarterfinal number 3. Jasonzhou versus OldBoy.
I really want to qualify for the grand final.
It's my dream to qualify for the World Championship.
OldBoy, he come from Europe region. So far, I think he played pretty well.
In the next round, I will be facing Jasonzhou. He's one of the best Chinese players and also one of the best world players.
It should be like a tough match for me. I feel confident about my skills.
I'm looking forward to play against him.
I think I have got more experience than him because I played a lot of tournaments already. So maybe that would be the reason I beat him.
If I win my next match, I won't be OldBoy anymore. I will be an old man.
Jasonzhou versus OldBoy. Let's see what you got.
You better believe that OldBoy has been waiting all weekend to make that joke.
Yeah, I heard TJ discuss that with him a week ago and gave him that great dad joke.
Yeah, but he's
That's a lie.
that is a lie. But OldBoy, you know, you heard Jasonzhou mention in the interview, he thinks his experience is going to give him an edge. And just look at Jasonzhou's record in international competition. He had a rough go in the spring season, but he touted that as being, you know, because of his lineup. He took a risk with being in control lineup in that tournament, and he got a group that his decks just didn't line up against. If he was in any other group in that tournament, he may have gone all the way through and even been able to qualify for Worlds then. And you go back top 4 at the World Championship last year. He domestically in China, he's been cleaning up in the past year and a half, 2 years. So his experience is big.
It's huge, I think, in this one. And I want to talk about Shanghai for just a little bit, because I remember in his interview, when you looked at the group and the deck list, there was such a low % chance it looked like for Jason to get out of it. But he said at that tournament he felt that the edge he could get in play was fairly small. He said that the metagame was quite solid and figured out, and that he took a gambit on whether or not players were going to bring one style of lineup or another. And half the players brought the lineup that he was trying to get. They just didn't end up in his group. And that's something that I always thought is really spectacular about Jasonzhou. You even look back at the World Championships when he had to play against Hamster in the top 8 afterwards. Hamster said, I'm sticking to the same decks. I built these to prove that I'm a good deck builder. And Jasonzhou swapped up his lineup. despite the fact that he was a control warrior master, changed up the way that he played his lineup.
Yeah, and as we've talked about, Jasonzhou is no stranger to the big stage here. But let's just get to know a little bit more about him.
Well met.
My name is Jasonzhou. I'm 27 years old and I come from Shanghai, China. My favorite card is Gomash. My favorite deck is Control Warrior because I like the feeling of control things. My favorite thing of Hearthstone is make a friend. I can't say Hearthstone make everybody happy, but he makes me happy.
Jasonzhou, there you can take a look at some of his accomplishments, and you can see one fact there. He actually lived in the United States for a few years, about 10 years ago. It was around high school age. That's where he learned English. He also, when he first started playing Hearthstone, competed on the Americas ladder.
Yeah.
And so he actually has a lot of experience playing against some of the Americas players and even some of the European players that started there as well. So he's definitely been a world traveler. He has not only international experience on the big stage, but also international experience in ranked play, and just has a big network of available practice partners. So definitely a tough opponent, and currently 2-0.
Yeah. The thing to really look at here for me is that there's so much to say about Jasonzhou where his tournament experience is concerned. And for OldBoy, that is not the case.
Yeah. Looks like we're having a few technical issues with getting the game started. So we're going to get underway with quarterfinal number 3 right after this.
Still to come from Blizzard Arena, Los Angeles, the Hearthstone Summer Championship rolls on.
Are you excited? BlizzCon 2017. Watch the opening ceremony and eSport events free starting November 3rd.
Welcome back, everybody, to the HCT Summer Championship. It looks like we've resolved the issues and about to get underway with game number 1 between Jasonzhou and OldBoy. Trying to become an old man, which is quite backwards from what it normally is.
Yeah. I feel like he would go from old boy to young man to old man.
That would be the normal progression.
He's just skipping one of the stages.
He is.
I like that.
That's what happens when you qualify for a world championship. And this year, he'd be the 3rd Ukrainian player to do just that.
That's right. We talk a lot about European dominance, but I want to focus specifically on Ukraine for a moment. In his interview, he did touch about how he thinks it is important to represent his country in that regard. And with Kolento and with Nyria already going to the World Championship, if OldBoy wins this match, it would be the 3rd Ukrainian in the World Championship. And that's nuts. Something's in the water.
That's right now. 3 more players from Ukraine at the World Championship than from China. Jasonzhou trying to change that up, though. He would be the first Chinese player to qualify at this moment. They're guaranteed someone from last call, but definitely something to keep in the back of your mind as well. But let's get into it. Warlock versus Warlock. A couple interesting decisions right off the bat. OldBoy had a Twilight Drake in his mulligan that he pitched away. But he's rewarded because he picks up Blood Reaver Gul'dan in its place.
Yeah,
and that's a key card.
A lot of this matchup does often boil down to whether or not Blood Reaver Gul'dan is present. Typically when it is, you don't have to life tap that much. A lot of situations, even if you're not playing a Mountain Giant version, you simply will not life tap. So that way, as the Blood Reaver Gul'dan starts happening back and forth, what ends up happening is your opponent has life tapped so much that you stay in parity and you win through fatigue.
Yeah.
However, it's very rare that you'll just have it in your opening hand and that your opponent will just simply have to life tap for a long time to find it. It also changes a lot when you have Mountain Giants. Jasonzhou has 1 copy of Mountain Giant and OldBoy has 2. That is really the thing that tries to break that stalemate, is getting a giant minion on board and starting to either pressure your opponent or buy a ton of value in it. In this situation with OldBoy having both Mountain Giant and the Blood Reaver Gul'dan, he's got a sizable advantage here.
I would say so, and you can see Dirty Rat just sort of jammed on turn 3 by OldBoy. It serves a couple purposes. One, it takes a card out of the hand from Jasonzhou, which reduces the likelihood that he's able to play Mountain Giant on curve. And what it also does is, well, for OldBoy, sometimes pulls Doomsayer out of your opponent's hand. Now, Jasonzhou has only 1 Doomsayer. He's got a lot of 1-ups in his deck. He's got a single copy of Drain Soul, Doomsayer, Shadow Bolt, 1 copy of Hellfire, Spellbreaker, and 1 Mountain Giant. He's got a lot of 1-ups. It seems like he's tech more towards anti-aggro because he's got the Galaka Crawlers and the targeted removal with Drain Soul.
Well, those options are really just replaced in OldBoy's version. I mean, you take a look at his. He's got the 2nd copy of Hellfire. He's got 2 Tar Creepers. Jasonzhou replaced 1 of the Mountain Giants with a Lich King in his deck. I think where the edge is concerned, it's very close. But I do want to give the nod to Jasonzhou because he does have 1 less Doomsayer. He does have Lich King available to him. That extra resource can be very valuable as the game rolls on. But right now, the big story to me is that we've got dueling threats here, and OldBoy already has Blood Reaver Gul'dan.
Yeah, he's trying to think where to trade. By trading into the Twilight Drake, he leaves Mountain Giant enough, but he's hoping for a value trade. But this opens him up to Mountain Giant plus Mortal Coil, so he left his Twilight Drake vulnerable in order to make it so his Mountain Giant has the opportunity to attack going into the following turn.
And this is the spot of the game now where I think you need to pay particular attention to how many cards the players deliberately draw at this stage. For Jasonzhou, now that he's found Blood Reaver Gul'dan, and he's got the board, I think he's free to slow this down a lot. OldBoy has had Blood Reaver Gul'dan and needed to tap for his Mountain Giant. But since he went 2nd in this game, normally he would have 1 less card in his deck. However, that's not the case. Jasonzhou has drawn the extra card due to Mortal Coil. And so I'm not saying it's a mistake, but if this game goes that deep, remember that Mortal Coil.
Boy, does get slightly punished for the way he traded last turn by leaving his Twilight Drake vulnerable to the attack plus the Hellfire. He sort of gave Jasonzhou the opportunity to have sort of the pressure advantage. And taking a look at, you know, some of the changes to Jasonzhou's deck, as we had mentioned, Lich King, a single copy of Mountain Giant and a single copy of Spellbreaker.
Yeah, Spellbreaker's just been an all-purpose style of removal spell in this deck where you want to flip around Spike Ridge Steed, you don't want Tyrion to apply a lot of pressure. And then even against some stuff like Prophet Bellin, you're not always going to have the damage to finish it immediately, but shutting off that damage could give you just enough time to recover with Blood Reaver Gul'dan. Often against Priest, you'll see a Warlock deck try to exhaust the opposing resources so that the massive burst damage turns are not there.
Yeah. OldBoy finds second Mountain Giant, so pressure seems like it's definitely on his side at the moment. But Jason does have a lot of tools, and he does have a lot of threats of his own, with Abyssal Enforcer also drawn at this point. And again, both players have Blood Reaver Gul'dan.
It's looking to me like this Mountain Giant's sticking this turn, though.
Yep.
Jasonzhou could play Tainted Zealot and Defile, I believe.
So many.
If he did that, it activates 2 times exactly.
No, because it wouldn't kill.
So it plays the Mistress with it then.
Okay.
So it activates 2 times exactly. Is that right? No, it'd be 3 times, right?
It'd be 3 times. It'd kill off the Mistress. Then it would kill off the Voidwalker. And then, yeah, then he could trade into Mount Giant at that stage. But it would clear off his entire board. And he'd just be left with sort of a stalemate at that point.
Down to 16, though. And OldBoy's got Spellbreaker. He's got Siphon Soul here. He's got 2 Siphon Souls. This is an opportunity for OldBoy to push a lot of damage, but the thing about pushing that damage is you have to be able to capitalize on it. If Jasonzhou is at a very low life total, but OldBoy can't deliver that damage, it's very easy to stabilize with Blood Reaver Gul'dan. However, OldBoy gets to swing that right back with his own Blood Reaver Gul'dan, so they stay at parity the rest of the time. Very interesting situation here.
But if you get that damage in early, Warlock doesn't have immediate on-demand life gain.
Oh boy.
They have Blood Reaver Gul'dan, which gains life over time. But if OldBoy can get in the damage now and then play Blood Reaver Gul'dan, and you mentioned the parity that happens, but if he's sticking the first threat after Blood Reaver Gul'dan comes out, then he has an advantage. But he's going to trade. I think he knows what this matchup is all about, and that could be a big risk. He would leave himself vulnerable to clear, and you know, if his opponent has Blood Reaver Gul'dan, it's going to be tough for him to find the extra pressure as the game progresses.
Notice OldBoy's hanging on to this coin as well. He had some strong coin play here, but I think he wants to get the first Blood Reaver Gul'dan out. Not only does that give him the demon pressure, which is, you know, very little, if anything, right? It's just a Voidwalker, right?
Just a Voidwalker, yeah.
Gets him the first activation. He's hoping that Jasonzhou just doesn't have Blood Reaver Gul'dan himself, and that damage actually ends up mattering. But right now, again, being that 1 card ahead where that Fatigue Race is concerned, that is a lot of damage as you go deep into that state.
OldBoy played one of the closest Warlock versus Warlock matchups against Nalguidan in the decider for Group A. And effectively came down to his Dirty Rat pulling a Doomsayer from the hand of Nalguidan to win in the game. He would have been dead the following turn. So that card's been doing a lot of work for him.
Second Dreadlord too. So Jason's Blood Reaver Gul'dan, I think, is looking much stronger than OldBoy's right now as well. He's gonna opt to, well, hang on. He's thinking about this.
It's quite a big breaking point. If he lands Blood Reaver Gul'dan and Jasonzhou doesn't have it, that gives him that big advantage. But if Jasonzhou has it as well, and OldBoy spends his entire turn developing a Voidwalker instead of making a board swing, that could be big as well. And a tech card that we didn't mention earlier that's in the deck for OldBoy that's... Oh, sorry. I was thinking of Twisting Nether, but neither player has the Twisting Nether.
Yeah, it was Nalguidan that had
Nalguidan had the Twisting Nether.
Lich King drawn for Jasonzhou as well. And so now I think Jasonzhou, that's where I think he's going to find his edge in this matchup, if that's the case. Oh.
Pick me! Pick me!
Hang on a second. You're supposed to come down after Blood Reaver Gul'dan. But yeah, I'm very happy that you're here as well. And I'm certain Jason is as well.
Don't leave him hanging.
You gotta go for the Gul'dan first. However, with the timing of the Gul'dan is important as well. I mean, you don't necessarily just want to just play it on this board. I mean, does Jason just want max value from this? Nope, get it online.
Yeah, I mean, he is bringing it back.
This is one of the strongest cards
He's bringing
in
back
the game.
Voidwalker.
And second Dreadlord, too.
The Dreadlord.
I'm actually curious if Jason should have ever pushed the Galactic Crawler into this, and he doesn't want to, because this means that if OldBoy plays his own Blood Reaver Gul'dan, it does not refresh the Despicable Dreadlord. If he had pushed his Galactic Crawler in, the Dreadlord would trade into the Voidwalker. In theory, it sounds good, but he's in this spot. If OldBoy has Blood Reaver Gul'dan, he gets that little bit of an edge.
This is tough for OldBoy to deal with. No Twisting Nether in the deck.
Just look how comfortable Jason looks as well.
He's kind of always in that position. It doesn't seem like he's affected too much by nerves when he's on stage. I think the most nervous I've ever seen him was before he went on stage for a semifinal match at the World Championship last year. That's the only time I've ever seen him a little bit shaky, not willing to talk and chat.
Or post the double evolve from purple earlier this tournament.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa. Oh, well, this is the only way he gets off a good defile here. Is by Siphon Souling the Boardwalker, and he does find it.
Doomsayer is meant to simply absorb damage at this point. He knows that it's not a realistic possibility it sticks, but this is what the Lich King is for. And so this draw from Jasonzhou on the Lich King is big. Flexing those muscles. Let's see what you got.
Anti-Magic Shell.
Pretty good.
That's one of the, I think that's one of the better ones. Now, it does, rely on you having a board, but all of a sudden you can turn Vicious Affixers and Tainted Zealots.
Can't hero power them.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough to remove. So you can turn those smaller minions that are usually early game tools into something good later on in the game.
And then this as well, it forces the delay once again on the Blood Reaver Gul'dan.
Now this coin is stranded.
Well, I am a little curious about this Abyssal Enforcer coming out right here. I would like to see Jason really think through this turn and figure out the best way to play around Blood Reaver Gul'dan. Now, he may already have that figured out, but I would like to see him take some time there.
Yeah.
Especially with the Hellfire drawn right off the bat. I mean, maybe that's why he plays the Abyssal Enforcer in this spot.
Yeah, now he can Hellfire, hero power down the Despicable Dreadlord and push some more damage. Now that would leave his...
He could shell this up too.
Yeah, he could Tainted Zealot shell. Well, no, he could only shell that single minion because he's been 4 for the Hellfire.
How does OldBoy deal with it? He's got coin and a random card right now from his deck, or you've already seen a ton of threats.
Yeah.
It's out of range of Hellfire. It's out of range of Abyssal Enforcer.
It's not the most valuable anti-magic shell, but just earlier today we saw an interesting matchup between Tom's Kazakus Mage and Purple's Evolve Shaman, where he was able to get a Lich King off of Evolve, picked up anti-magic shell, and just won 4-1 minion that couldn't be targeted by Frost Lich Chain and Hero Power, won in the game in Fatigue.
So Jason is trying to set up a much bigger anti-magic shell in this spot.
This basically gets punished by almost exactly Mortal Wound.
Wow, I think that Lich King is going to win Jason this game.
Doesn't want to draw cards.
Absolutely not.
He does not want to get behind in that Fatigue. He does not want to draw more cards than Jasonzhou, because that could definitely matter as this game goes on. With both players playing with limited resources, OldBoy realizes that it does go to Fatigue. Every point of damage matters.
This is a major swing for Jasonzhou. Wow, Lich King is super powerful in this matchup. That's a very large Abyssal Enforcer.
Yes, it is.
However, I don't think it gets the job done here. Again, Jasonzhou has broken that parity. 6 damage delivered from the flank.
Bring it on down.
And OldBoy does not have an answer to this Twilight Drake. In fact, I don't believe he has a card left to answer it directly.
And
anything he plays is going to die to what Jasonzhou has.
He needs to hold on to the Tainted Zealot and draw the second Hellfire.
And in the meantime, 6 a turn is clocking.
Yep.
4 turns. And that comes close to doing it.
It would likely force a trade.
Well, the other thing is that OldBoy could play the Tainted Zealot alongside this. I don't know. I think that OldBoy being a card ahead on this endgame battle, it could still be the difference here.
Jason is effectively out of threats. He's used both of his Despicable Dreadlords and brought them back.
Both Abyssal Enforcers.
Both Abyssal Enforcers, Lich King, both his Twilight Drakes, and his one Mountain Giant has also been used.
And that's why Jason is attacking face in this spot. He knows that when it comes down to that endgame damage, that he needs that clock to be applied there.
Yeah.
And now OldBoy facing down this 6-1, he could trade, but that looks disastrous. And here I think he's likely to get punished by this Spellbreaker if he chooses to do this. I mean, he's getting low on life, and Jasonzhou still has a little bit more to play with. The trade, I think, here is wise.
This is often what the matchup comes down to. Unless it's a blowout where one player draws all their threats and the other player doesn't draw any, then often this matchup goes to fatigue, and that's why we didn't see the Mortal Coil earlier on, or we did see it, but it wasn't for draw, it was just for the extra damage.
Again, though, Jasonzhou did draw that card early from Mortal Coil, and he didn't necessarily need to. If Jasonzhou had not drawn that card, I think he would undoubtedly be winning this game.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not going to do the math, because that's a lot of math to do.
OldBoy's favorite card comes into his hand with the Dirty Rat. Not much to pull at this stage. Doomsayer's been used. I mean, there's really, OldBoy can put him on just a few minions that are actually just left in his deck. And most of them are small, as you can see with the hand. Spellbreaker, Mistress of Mixtures, Earthen Ring, Farseer.
One of Jason's remaining cards, by the way, is Blood Mage Thalnos. So he does have a dead card left in his deck as well. No stage is he going to be able to play that unless he wants to Spellbreaker it as well.
Which could be a possibility.
Jason's really thinking about this Hellfire right now.
My hunger grows.
And he wants to push the damage.
Ah,
Oh no, he's saving the
I
Hellfire.
like this.
Slow down, buddy.
Ooh, Drain Soul. I don't think Jason wants to use it exactly this turn. There's a lot of tricky setups that Jason can do here as well. And notice he's not playing the Earthen Ring Farseer. As the damage rolls out in the endgame, when players are ticking through fatigue, being able to maybe Drain Soul his own Mistress of Mixtures to buy in that turn could be a big deal. Spellbreaker here is effectively damage, and even though it's only 1 point of it, I think that's enough. Whoa.
Ooh.
Yeah, hang on there.
Yeah, I want to protect the minion here.
That Twilight Drake's flanking. Second flank threat for OldBoy.
I'm going to put it up here. I'll never be able to attack.
He could also Drain Soul the Drake here and just go base with the hero power, but
It would waste the healing from the Drain Soul just
Exactly.
slightly, and every point of damage matters since he's effectively a card behind in fatigue. And the hero power is sort of why he was thinking about leaving it up, because it would have been hero powered anyway, but then he thought about it and he's like, wait, that's the same outcome because I take 4, he hero powers it, and then I hero power right back.
And Jasonzhou holding onto the Hellfire here too, that also is accounting in for these endgame plans. He wants to set up a turn where OldBoy gets low enough that a hero power to face a Hellfire and the fatigue hit will kill him. And that's what both players are trying to set up right now. So the Dirty Rat here plays a big role. That's another reason why Jason's holding on to these minions. If Dirty Rat pulls that Blood Mage and forces him to draw another card, it is a major punish. So the Dirty Rat could play another large role in a victory here.
Just wait until he plays all of his minions. Pull out the Blood Mage Thanos. Get that extra point of fatigue. Last card is Siphon Soul, so Jasonzhou just does have the healing advantage. And he does have a health advantage at the moment. Oh, this pulls Blood Mage Thanos. Jasonzhou is going to be sad. It's just the mixtures.
Trust me.
They will waste the healing though, which I think Jasonzhou was relying on that to sort of get him through the fatigue race. But now this is everything these players have left. And I think Jason needs to maximize his healing here. And hold on to the Drain Soul again. Wants to get that 2 heal.
Oh boy. With still a few cards left to play with, the way the fatigue battle ends still is very dependent on how they partition these resources. It's very few left to work with. But the Tainted Zealot now threatens to chip for 1 damage at a time. And I think that's why Jason held on to this Siphon Soul instead. This now gives him the liberty to actually gain the life from killing the Tainted Zealot. Doesn't require him to sink a hero power in it. Doesn't require the Drain Soul to be wasted there. And I think Jason may have done this about as perfectly as it gets.
Looking at Admirable's notepad right now, just a bunch of numbers.
There's a
He's
lot
just
of
trying his hardest to calculate the fatigue race here. If both players played perfectly and maximized their healing. Jasonzhou has 5 healing left, is 1 card behind in fatigue. OldBoy has 3 healing left, is 1 card ahead in fatigue.
Now that's really a key moment for me there, where OldBoy's looking at the difference between healing up the Tar Creeper and healing up himself. And frankly, I don't know which one's better. My instinct tells me that the Tar Creeper is more because it represents a point of damage over every single turn. So now Jasonzhou gets to disrupt the hero power with this. So now we can officially begin calculating this as we see the end of resources partition. Jasonzhou to 26. He's going to stay at 26. OldBoy drops to 18, which means he's taking 5 next turn. That means Jasonzhou's taking 6 next turn.
I think Jason might have this.
I think Jasonzhou's 1 damage off.
Is he? So he'll take 6 this turn, go up to 10. Oh man.
15. And now Jasonzhou drops to 8. He goes up to 11, which means he's taking 8 next turn. And that's game. Oh my gosh. I calculated it wrong! I tagged it wrong. For some reason I wrote down a 6 there instead.
That's one of the weirdest fatigue ends I've seen in a long time. And Jasonzhou maximizing the healing at the end of the game, holding on to the Drain Soul, willing to take the extra damage just to be able to maximize his healing potential in fatigue, and wins by a single turn. OldBoy did everything he could to not draw cards, using his Mortal Coil for damage instead of drawing. But in the end, it still didn't matter.
So here's my one spot to look at in that game. The early Dirty Rat from OldBoy. If he simply holds both Dirty Rats, can he get all of the threats out of Jason's deck and then double Dirty Rat to ensure that he pulls that Blood Mage, or force Jasonzhou to hold back with 3 minions?
Even just a latch Dirty Rat. but it's really tough to say. But in the end, Jasonzhou takes game number 1, and Lich King doing a dance because he affected the outcome of that match. We're gonna be right back with game number 2 in just a few moments.
BlizzCon 2017. Watch the opening ceremony and Esports Events free starting November 3rd.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Summer Championship. On your screen, you can see Pavel getting ready for his upcoming quarterfinal match against Orange. This is one for the ages. That quarterfinal going to be coming up in a little bit, and I can't wait. But we also have some more business to handle here on the stage. OldBoy currently trails in this series 0-1, and he's mentioned a lot of times that we've seen that he's a newcomer to the stage. We had a chance to sit down and talk with him about his experience here at the Summer Championship.
This is the first time I ever tried to qualify for the HCT tournament.
Pyroblast is gonna do it. OldBoy locks it up.
When I played Denim Blue, it was a really important win for me because I didn't have so much chances to win against his lineup. I became nervous, but in the end, I did what I wanted to do.
OldBoy, what an impressive performance from him.
After the win, I went to the bar with my friends. My brother showed me Hearthstone one day, and then started playing more and more, and then I was watching streams and stuff, and then tried to play some competitive Hearthstone. The first time I played on stream, my hands were shaking and I was really nervous. So I'm just trying not to think about playing on the stage. I think that I qualified for this tournament. I can consider myself as a professional. The first goal in my list is to get my place at the World Championship. And the second one is to win the whole thing.
We've seen throughout the tournament the nerves definitely getting to him. You know, he had some shaky games earlier on in the tournament. He's had a much rougher path to get to the quarterfinals than Jasonzhou, but I mean, he's got a lot of experience now. He's played on the stage, well, twice. One of his matches was off stream, but played in this tournament 3 times so far. So maybe the nerves are starting to shake off. I feel like he played that last game pretty well. There was a couple of things that, you know, we thought could have been differently, like the dirty rat at the end, saving for blood veins, the drawing cards earlier on in the matchup. But he did, you know, realize his win condition, but maybe a little bit too late.
Yeah. Something that's really interesting to note too is when we talked to OldBoy, he said he loves to play aggressive decks, but that didn't want to bring him to this tournament because when he doesn't draw a 1-drop, it tilts him.
It tilts him. He said he can't imagine playing aggro decks on stage because of that, because he'll get too frustrated when he doesn't draw a 1-2-3 curve. That's exactly what he said. He said it was basically the first time he had tried to play like a lineup of control decks almost ever at the playoffs, at the summer playoffs, which is kind of impressive because now he's basically playing all control decks at a championship event and made it to the quarterfinals. And another funny thing about that interview is he talked about how his brother was the one who introduced him to Hearthstone. And he said it was just a couple months before he got better than his brother, and then his brother quit. He's like, you got better than me. I don't even want to play anymore.
I'm stupid.
So surpassing him pretty quickly.
But as we get into this game, this is really the key thing to look out for. Jasonzhou's deck thrives on board synergy a lot of times. And that's basically what OldBoy's deck is designed to do, is rip apart board synergy. Now, there are a couple things to account for here. Number one is that OldBoy does not have Twisting Nether in his deck. So a combination of Doppelgangster Evolve is much harder for him to handle. The second thing to account for is that Jasonzhou, after watching him play last game, really understands the inner workings of these matchups, what makes them tick, and how you actually win them. If Jasonzhou can find a big turn to land Thrall or Evolve, those things are what's gonna make the difference here. But so far, OldBoy has the board, and Dirty Rat could play a key role in picking apart a big combo. Say he pulls Doppelgangster from it, that's the dream scenario.
Completely ruins the game plan from Jasonzhou, and also getting a board lead is pretty important. Dropping the Doomsayer into the Mana Tide, it goes off. He gets an uncontested Twilight Drake on the board, and he's going to roll as well into Mountain Giant if he so chooses. And I think there's really no other options.
Yeah,
because he gets to trade off this Primal Fin Totem.
My one thought for Jason this game was playing the Flametongue Totem. He played it awfully fast. And Defile is a card that's going to be difficult for him to play around anyway. And the sooner he puts OldBoy to that test, the more likely it is to succeed. But now, paying closely attention to the mulligans, what card is OldBoy keeping that could be besides Defile? Sometimes Voidwalker, sometimes Mistress of Mixtures. But Defile's really high up on the list.
Defile, Doomsayer,
Hellfire. It's all cards that work very effectively versus that Flametongue Totem. Of course, Hellfire, of course, is, hurts OldBoy as well, would have forced a coin in that situation, so some things to consider there.
Yeah, Defile will clear off the entire side of the other board, and then he can actually Mortal Coil at the end of this.
Puts a lot of heat on his own minions here, but that's not really much of a concern for OldBoy.
Yeah, not at all.
The big one is that he's delivering damage here. That he's stopping Jason from using Bloodlust, from using more Flametongue Totems, from using Evolve. And the window is beginning to shut.
He's taking 12. And even Devolve doesn't really help him. Actually hurts him. And Bloodlust Drawn, that card is completely useless at the moment. He's going to have to try and get through
Oh.
this. Okay.
Well, that's very important here because now it's the Maelstrom Portal plus the Jade Claws plus the patches. So still under heat. That drop's not going to help him right away, so Jason still remains in trouble here. And suddenly you look at the hands. Dirty Rat would pull a Doppelgangster in this spot.
It would. And there's not really that many other targets for Dirty Rat in the deck.
Yes, Jason, he's going to clear up the Mountain Giant instead. Very wise to keep his thing from below protected here. Takes a lot of extra damage, but he knows he's going to have to take risks to win this game.
Despicable Dreadlord can come down and clear quite a bit of this, but I'm really looking at that Dirty Rat. OldBoy doesn't show much restraint with that card. We've seen time and time again.
The Zealot plus the Mortal Coil here. Will leave just a lone totem on board. But for Jasonzhou, the time is right now. Evolve is the magic draw. That's not it.
No, Maelstrom Portal not going to get it done. He's not dead yet, but he's getting quite close.
I imagine in this spot that Jason is often willing to risk his doppelgangsters on board at this point. He's seen a lot of removal from OldBoy. And frankly, how does he get out of this if he doesn't develop the board?
Yeah, at this point, he loses if he doesn't have any development.
Right.
There's absolutely, I think, no other play besides play Doppelgangster, hope he doesn't have it, hope your next draw is Evolve or Thrall, and hope that Evolve or Thrall
I mean, some
wins you the game.
He's picturing all the cards that are bad for him right now. Hellfire, Abyssal Enforcer, anything that deals damage to minions. So much is bad for this Doppelgangster. You know, even just playing a Doomsayer into it is a fairly significant threat, but
Gonna develop the Jade Claws instead. It is quite large. It's, I believe it is a 4/4. So it does put something on the board. So he's really hoping that his next draw is exactly Evolve.
oh my. Well,
There it is.
yeah. OldBoy timed this very well. And the amount of time that Jason spent thinking, he can often conclude.
Spent thinking with 5 mana available.
Yeah.
Bouncing over the far left card, which has been in the hand since the opening.
And OldBoy says, handle this. He's free to blow up his own board. He's got Blood Reaver Gul'dan in hand.
Gonna bring him back.
And that's checkmate. Jasonzhou, I don't believe, any longer has the time to win, even if he picked what cards he drew. If he chose what minions he got from Evolve, OldBoy would kill him before that. Tied series.
A very good matchup for Warlock, but sometimes it can be tricky to navigate. But you know, I think that one is chalked up to deck building. OldBoy, you know, he looks a little better than yesterday, but nowhere close to comfortable, I would say, even after a win.
Jason's thinking through that. God, could I have done anything different? Not really.
Yeah.
That's the matchup. That's why you bring Warlock. Tear apart decks that require board synergy.
Yeah, and I think the big deck here for OldBoy is going to be the Warrior. He's shown some shaky play on that deck thus far, and you know, OldBoy's a player who prides himself in his ability to recognize the meta and bring good decks, and he says he actually thinks that's, you know, more important than, you know, being a recognized and, you know, top tier player. Take a look at what he had to say.
If you're a big name, that doesn't mean if you brought a bad lineup, it doesn't actually mean that you're gonna win. So, I mean the lineup is more important in this meta.
He does put the caveat at the end there, in this meta. We've seen in the past that sometimes incredibly skilled players can overcome an inefficient lineup with raw skill, but with the level of play getting closer and closer at the highest end, it gets tougher and tougher. So you have to find edges where you can, and OldBoy thinks that comes from his lineup.
And I totally agree with him. You look at Mega Zero from this tournament. He played fantastic throughout, but the weakness of his lineup was Hunter. He went 1-6 with it.
1-5.
1-5.
Close.
That is not a good record with Hunter.
No.
And he was the lone player to bring Hunter as well.
OldBoy doesn't really have a deck that stands out for himself, though. Across the board, he's got pretty even win rates with his decks. 2-2 with Warlock, 2-2 with Warrior, 1-1 with Druid, and 1-2 with Priest. He's actually the only player in the quarterfinals who has a negative win-loss record going in.
Yeah,
so
that's game win-loss, of course.
Game win-loss.
Yeah.
So he has been, on paper, the worst performing player based off of game score alone out of the 8 quarterfinalists. So, and I think this is the deck that he struggled with the most. Yes, it's 2-2, but I think Warrior gets some of those matchups where it's hard to lose. But OldBoy, this is going to be a big win for him if he can manage it.
Yeah, and honestly, I do want to touch a little bit on how difficult this deck can be. If you think about the nature of a N'Zoth Warrior deck, it's trying to utilize Dead Man's Hand. Shuffle extra cards into your deck that you otherwise do not have access to. So what is that perfect scenario? Well, that depends on just about every factor imaginable. Like, what has your opponent played? What have you yet to draw? What resources have you exhausted? What cards are you most trying to duplicate? And do you need extra cards to survive a fatigue battle because the deck draws so many cards? Now, imagine thinking about all of that on the fly every single turn. Suddenly, it's an incredibly difficult deck. A lot of the times, it does play fairly straightforward. You blow up your opponent's stuff. But sometimes it's not that way. And when it's not, that's when things get tough.
And there's the Dead Man's Hand drawn, so this is where those calculations start to take place. He does have a few of the cards that he likes to shuffle. N'Zoth, I think, being the big one. Being able to, have that big sports swing, especially late in the game. Fatigue really is not a win condition here for Jasonzhou. Unless OldBoy completely blunders his Dead Man's Hand usage, it's not going to be an option.
Yeah, the goal for Jasonzhou is to find the window of opportunity where he delivers enough damage all in one go. For OldBoy, it's simply to exhaust as many of Jasonzhou's resources as possible to mitigate that effect. And for a lot of times, that means OldBoy has to be aggressive in spots where he would normally want to just simply slow the pace of the game down to draw some more cards.
This one's going to be pretty tough for Jason, I feel. His Priest deck is quite teched for aggro matchups. He's got Glockcrawler, Doomsayer. He's got Holy Nova.
I think the key card for him in this matchup often boils down to Lyra. Being able to generate additional Priest cards, in the right situation, he could mold a perfect hand. Now that's up to the gods at that point. It's not up to Jason to do that. But I imagine he's going to be very conservative with resources and look for that turn. His minions, I don't think, are as much of a priority. Sans raiding element, of course. But Jason, once again, is facing down Dirty Rat from OldBoy's deck. So he has to figure out what minions should he be holding, but not anymore. So that is the lone Dirty Rat in OldBoy's deck.
He's a Dirty Rat gamer.
Not in an insulting way. He just plays Dirty Rat.
He likes to play Dirty Rat.
Very aggressively.
If say he picked up Raza there off the Dirty Rat.
That's what he's thinking about, too. I mean, it's going into turn 5.
Yeah.
So he's trying to land it before Jasonzhou has an opportunity to even play Raza. Any turn after turn 5 when Jason draws Raza, it's basically taking priority over any of his other plays.
Yeah.
So I actually agree with the call from OldBoy. He's shaking.
He's not shaking.
He's not. Jasonzhou has been on the other side of this matchup thousands and thousands of times as the Control Warrior player.
You heard in his interview earlier, it's his favorite deck. Now, this is a little bit different than, you know, the Control Warrior that he sort of grew up playing in Hearthstone. The old, you know, Grom Hellscream version where you just Alex him in the face and then kill him. But in these types of matchups, he does have experience, you know, from the Warrior side, which a lot of times means you have experience playing against it. Even a lot of times when players at the highest competitive levels practice, they practice by playing their opponent's decks, and they have their practice partners or friends play their decks, and that allows you to find holes in the game plans and weaknesses in the game plans. And you better believe that Jason knows the holes if they're there.
Yeah, it really comes down to him finding the window of opportunity. How to apply pressure in the right circumstance. It's such a valuable piece of knowledge to have when it comes to these styles of matchups. And I think that's where Jason can find his edge. I think from an overall deck standpoint, he's not expected to win this game. He's going to have to use his ingenuity to figure out where that window is.
And one of the things is you got to sort of keep the armor check under control. Now, if you don't apply pressure and just let the warrior gain armor turn after turn, they're going to get to a point where even if you're able to muster up a huge amount of damage in a single turn, you're not going to get through it. The warrior's going to have time to stabilize. They're going to kill off your threats.
Is someone injured?
And Jasonzhou is still yet to pick up some of those big tools, and is going to draw some cards here.
Well, there goes the Radiant Elemental. So that is a curious one to watch for. That unlocks some of the biggest Velen and Lyra turns that you can get. And he's opting to draw an additional card with it here instead. And he finds...
There's the second piece.
But, oh my. Big draws for Jason. But again, losing that Radiant Elemental will cost him some of his explosive endgame potential. He does not have Mind Blast in his main deck. Instead, he's opted for Tar Creeper, for Greater Healing Potion, for Galaka Crawler.
Let the pain speak to me.
Here's some key cards for OldBoy. If you're unfamiliar with how the Curtain Assault Warrior functions, Direhorn Hatchling, which is a death rattle, but also shuffles that what we just seen drawn, the Direhorn Patriarch, or Matriarch.
Yeah. That's Patriarch. Is it Matriarch? That's Matriarch. Yeah, it's little big baby dinosaur summons big mama dinosaur, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Mountain Fire Armor, which is quite an interesting card. It's aggressively statted, which means you can pressure with it. And by pressuring with it, you sort of entice your opponent to kill it. And if they kill it on their turn, it gains 6 armor. Well, Jasonzhou has drawn Kazakus, Prophet, Velen, Shadow Branduin, and Raza at the exact average point. They were like cards 16, 15, 14, and 13.
And notice this. Jason's choosing to get the Shadow Reaper Anduin online immediately. He wants to maximize his damage potential from both Raza and all the spells he's going to play afterwards. You look at the way that Jason's played this, he could have very easily played Kazakus and looked for a potion at some point in this game. And instead, he wanted to draw to Anduin aggressively and start cranking out damage so that he could check the armor total from OldBoy.
Yeah. And I think OldBoy here is looking for some Armor Smiths. The double Armor Smith plus a Whirlwind effect on a big board is what's going to get you out of range of a lot of the stuff. And as we mentioned earlier, Jasonzhou does not have... he has Velen, but he doesn't have the Mind Blast Holy Smite combination. So his top-end burst, when we're talking about that combo situation after Raza and Shadow Branduin has been played, is limited. But
Get ready. The damage is going to start cranking out
at this point,
quickly.
You know, Kazakus Potion with a 1 damage potion and Velen, that's a ton of extra damage that you can get.
The minions that Jason's throwing out right now, he no longer cares about. He says, let them die. All I need is to put pressure on OldBoy. 1 Armor Smith found.
And you better believe he's going to try and armor up each and every turn.
Whoa. I don't know about that, TJ.
That's a liberal use of Armor Smith, and that is going to mean a quick end with a Potion of Madness that's not going to give him a single point of armor. Well, I guess it gave him 1 with the attack last turn, but that really limits his ability to lifesteal. And I think at this point, what OldBoy's going to try and do is land in his off and try and pressure. He's seen...
Counter aggression is a way to win too. I mean, Jasonzhou's not free to just take as much damage as he wants. The Greater Healing Potion certainly subsidizes that, but it looks like OldBoy, he's like, I haven't found the right cards in time. He's found Anduin, he's found Raza. I got to get going.
Yeah, at this stage, he doesn't have any card draw left in his hand. He doesn't have a Whirlwind effect to couple with an Armor Smith. He doesn't have the second Armor Smith, so it's a liberal use of the Armor Smith. At this point, he might be thinking that it's necessary to play it in order to maybe try and piece together something in the following turns, but Jasonzhou looks like he's on the pressure train, and I'm probably taking a 1 here.
I cannot imagine not taking a 1 personally. That rope is it's about halfway done now. Jason's got to go.
He didn't even decide which potion he wanted. It is going to be 1. You're looking for 3 damage here because that becomes 6 with Velen, and it basically becomes 10 because you get the hero power with Velen as well. So that's sort of his burn.
Oh, Jason misses 2 damage because he took too long. But I think he's got so much damage in hand that I'm not sure this is going to matter.
Yeah.
Velen will start with 6. The potion represents, as TJ said, 10 again, because it refreshes the hero power. That's 16. Sleep with the Fishes, make that 20. Silence, make that 24. That's why OldBoy's playing the Scourge Lord Garrosh right now.
Yeah.
But you look back to that Armor Smith, how badly is that needed now?
He created himself the Whirlwind effect, but with Lyra drawn as well, Jasonzhou knows Armor Up is gone. He knows an Armor Smith is gone. He's pouring a bunch of damage at the face.
If Jasonzhou had delivered that 2 damage, he would be 1 damage off lethal this turn.
So it wouldn't quite give it to him. And I don't think it'll matter in the grand scheme of things, but...
Unless OldBoy's next draw is exactly Armor Smith, I think he's dead.
And even then... But Jason is trying to think, well, do I, go in now? Or do I try and wait a turn? Yeah, I'd like just
more damage.
Waiting.
He knows how much damage he's got. He's even going to compound that with the Greater Healing Potion. This means that in the event of shield block, that OldBoy would not survive. In the case of Armor Smith, does he have enough to gain the armor necessary? And that's not any of those cards. And that means Jasonzhou is about to take a 2-1 lead. There's the Velen, and OldBoy knows.
1 damage potion doing some work. And I feel like, again, the Warrior deck struggling for OldBoy. He expected to have a lot better matchups than it did.
I mean, this was a sick draw for Jason in this one. But, I mean, that's exactly what he needed to do. I personally somewhat questioned the use of the Radiant Elemental, but Jason knew, I got to piece this together before it gets out of hand. If I don't put on damage, I'm not going to get there in time.
Yeah.
So the aggressive use of Radiant Elemental very much justified, especially if you don't have Mind Blast in your deck. Without Mind Blast, the Radiant Elemental burst is significantly more limited.
Yeah. And now Jasonzhou 1 game away from qualifying for his 2nd World Championship in a row. Top 4 last year, looking for even greater things this year. We're going to return with game number 4 right after this.
Don't stray too far away from the fire, my friends. There's more tales to tell. This is the 2017 Hearthstone Summer Championship.
BlizzCon online with the virtual ticket. Includes in-game items and more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Summer Championship. You're looking at footage from Pavel and Orange making their walk from the player area to the stage, getting ready for the fourth and final quarterfinal match. What a showdown that's going to be.
Making their way downtown, not walking fast.
Orange looks scared, and Pavel just looks like another day in the life.
The longer that Pavel continues to put on big performances on stage, the more it seems like he really enjoys the camera.
Yeah. The first time we saw him, he didn't, but now he's starting to warm up to it. But let's get back into this one. OldBoy currently down 2-1 in the series, and Jasonzhou finds himself one game away from the World Championship.
Shaman left to do it with as well. This could be a bit tough. OldBoy with Warrior has a lot of strong tools to handle this. Now, one of the problems is it's very feast or famine when it comes to those tools. If he does not find good turns from Sleep with the Fishes, if he doesn't find good turns with his Lone Brawl, strong Blood Razor combinations, things can get really ugly really fast. If he does find those, things can look great for him. For Jason, though, I am curious what he thinks is the most valuable asset in this matchup. Oftentimes, it does boil down to just significant amounts of pressure, but maybe we'd see him take it slow and play for Manatide Totem protection. Maybe we see him play a bit aggressive with Doppelgangster at times, rather than more conservative with it. I think as this game goes on, we'll get that idea. And it looks like Manatide.
And to speak a little bit more about the Warrior deck, there really isn't many good matchups. If you look across the board now, looking at rank play statistics, Warrior has, just about 0 what you could call good matchups. This is one of the better ones.
Yes.
A lot of, players that play, at the highest competitive level, don't trust those statistics very much. They do have, some basis of truth, but they feel like, tournament play is much different. And OldBoy's in that camp, obviously, bringing the Dissolve Warrior to such a big tournament. But even against Priest, on paper, it's not favored. So if OldBoy was expecting that, he had to have a game plan going into it. He had to have felt very good with the matchup.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, in Conquest matchups, oftentimes you will devise a strategy that specifically tries to prey on one particular archetype. And in this case, OldBoy's lineup has basically chosen Shaman, Murloc Paladin, those style of decks, the synergy-based aggressive decks, to be his target. Even down to his Druid list, where he's got 2 Galaka Crawlers and 2 Mind Control tech. With the Warrior list that has Sleep with the Fishes, and is very dedicated to fighting off board states. His Priest deck, that's a little bit more teched to sustain the early game as it goes to the mid-range, and of course the Warlock, which is full of early game removal tools.
And, sort of to speak to that, in his interview when we asked him, and he said he was hoping for a lot of Shamans. And one of the things that he was hoping for as well alongside that was Zulok as well. He thought that was going to be much more popular than it actually ended up being in the tournament. With just a few players bringing that archetype, it's one less deck for his lineup to prey on. So he made a call, and while he was, semi-right with about half, maybe slightly less than half of the field bringing Shaman, Zulok was the big miss there, and I think that's why we've seen the Warriors struggle.
And notice Jason here very, very happily takes out the Mountain Fire armor. His concern isn't racing down OldBoy in a lot of these spots. It's trying to gauge when the right time to move in with threats is. He's going to need repetitive damage. He's going to need some big value from Doppelgangster Evolve. Maybe rely on Thrall to really snowball and compound that advantage. But in the meantime, every single turn that he can't apply significant pressure is more time for OldBoy to reach the end game and reach N'Zoth. He needs those critical tools, Jasonzhou that is. And the more time OldBoy has, the better the matchup gets for him.
Right now, the board is, I would say, slightly in his favor, if not very much so in his favor. He can get some more development online, gain a bunch of armor, and while you mentioned it's not a race, even when you start putting on that pressure, you can only deal so much. And maybe one extra turn from OldBoy is the time he needs to find the cards. The armor gain early on can be a big deal as the game progresses.
Having those really high armor totals means he's free to have development in spots where normally he'd have to have defensive play. Big turns for N'Zoth. It's turns to invest in a card draw to find the right resources. And this is becoming a problem for Jasonzhou, but the bigger problem right now is that he just doesn't have an evolve mechanic.
He's running out of time. And he's just going to go for a full board reset.
The end is coming!
This is going into Doppelgangster Evolve turn. Keep that in mind. And with Jasonzhou's weak plays earlier on in the game, OldBoy can, you know, pin him on having Doppelgangster Evolve. We can see that it's not there, but from OldBoy's perspective, he's quite close to sure that it is. He's ripping it, pulls the Doppelgangster.
It's a big pull, but Jason does have a backup one. And he also has Serenite Chain Gang protecting the deck. And OldBoy's going to very aggressively expend a slam. And I don't know about that one. His hand is slim pickings right now. Oh boy.
Jason finds it anyway. He's got second Doppelgangster in hand, and now OldBoy has used a lot of his resources trying to clear off this board. He pinned him on Doppelgangster Evolve, and once he saw it, he's like, well, if I just keep removing the board, now that I pulled Doppelgangster, I'm home free. But that's not the case.
The extra cards from Jason, the slow pace of resources. Jason here is even thinking about delaying this Evolve until he can maybe couple Thing from Below with it.
It's hard to delay it very long.
It really is. The closer OldBoy gets to that N'Zoth turn, the more trouble it could bring. Right now, there's 2 minions with Death's Rattle Dead, a Mountain Fire Armor and the Direhorn Hatchling.
He's gonna throw the Firefly in there as well.
Oh, the Beast. Saddle mentioned a couple Muklas earlier. I don't think these are really the ones he had in mind. But the Beast actually is a problem for Jasonzhou. The fact that it gives OldBoy that extra 3/3 to fight with, it is the prime execute target that can be had here.
He's still pretty much out of stuff. He's got N'Zoth, which is going to bring back a Mountain Fire Armor and a Direhorn Hatchling.
Is that Thrall? It is. Oh my, a huge draw for Jasonzhou. And I am going to be shocked if Thrall doesn't find its way to the board this turn.
He can even play Thing from Below, which is going to give him an 8-drop, which 8-drop is one of the most powerful slots in the game. So many big threats at that level.
He's going to opt for the 3 instead. The Thing from Below operates well on its own. The Firefly does not. So I like this play from Jason. He's accounting for later game scenarios as well.
Making sure you guys reload, I think, is the big thing. Reload that isn't a Firefly.
Oh my. And time is going to quickly run out for OldBoy as Gruul grows at the end of each turn.
Yeah. Now he does pick up Direhorn Hatchling, the second one, right before N'Zoth turn. So he's going to be able to trade this in no matter what. It's going to die next turn. So he is going to bring back 2 Direhorn Hatchlings and a Mountain Fire Armor, which is a lot of work to fight for the board.
Now with Adult Grizzly, Jason does have a lot more value in his hand because of that +1/+1 effect. Anytime you summon a minion, it gets +1/+1.
The elements are silent.
Wow.
Oh, Obsidian Statue. This minion will get +1/+1 from the Adult Grizzly. Leper Gnome. Hey, it's some extra damage.
Wow, he's even buffed from his old version.
Yeah.
To 2/2.
And Jasonzhou is going to hold on to some of these resources.
No brawl for OldBoy. He's only got 1 copy in his deck. And this situation is now dire. All that time he spent building armor gives him maybe an extra turn or 2 to find that. But it's just about do or die time for OldBoy. And Jason still has gas in the tank.
Now, OldBoy does have, what, 46 health to work with. So quite a bit. But he is out of stuff.
The elements are silent.
After the next turn, he's likely going to have 5 5 mana 6 or 4 or 5 mana 6/9s in his deck.
Those pale in comparison to the size of Gruul. Didn't even need a pirate.
I think the big thing for Jason here is might be to try and set up lethal going into the next turn. So that's why he's pushing some base damage here. He wants to make sure he has it.
And that's extra damage as well.
If it's killed off, yes.
No brawl.
Needs it now. 1 copy in his deck. There it is!
How do you sequence this? Do you trade first? I think you do. If you brawl and win the brawl in this situation, the Obsidian statue would kill it. If you attack the Obsidian statue first and then brawl, if you win the brawl, you have your minion left.
So it looks like attack first is just the correct play in that instance, because it gives him the chance to win the brawl and have the minion advantage. He does not want to see Gruul live through this. Adult Grizzly, I don't know, that one's still quite dangerous. That was the only copy of Brawl he had in his deck. So now he's going to rely on Direhorn Matriarchs. Out of the 16 cards left, 3 of them are even more, and these minions are going to get buffed. And he's got a ton of them to play. He's going in for the kill. This is all in.
And rightfully so. OldBoy only has the 1 copy of Brawl. With 1 card in hand, he would have to draw something to couple with Sleep with the Fishes.
Yeah. And now Jasonzhou just has to try and not get himself punished by a bad evolve.
And a huge minion off the evolve. Sleep with the Fishes is there, but there is no way to activate it. And Jasonzhou has Bloodlust and will be going to another World Championship.
And OldBoy knows it. Jasonzhou just going through the motions. But that is going to be it. OldBoy not able to get it done with the Warrior deck. And we now have Jasonzhou, and that means a Chinese representative at the World Championship. And it also means that we officially are guaranteed from this championship to have 1 player from all 4 regions going.
Wow, what a performance for Jasonzhou. He was patient at the right times. He was aggressive with resources at the right times. When it came to the control matchup and accounting for the long game, he took every single factor into consideration. This matchup was exceptionally played from Jasonzhou.
That's just a big sigh of relief coming out of him as the crowd gives him a warm round of applause. And there's currently our 3 representatives: Purple from the Americas, Surrender from APAC, Jasonzhou from China, and now with a European 4th quarterfinal. That's 1 player from all 4 regions. And standing on stage with some words with our winner is Raven.
Thank you, and congratulations, Jasonzhou. An amazing performance. I know this means a lot to you, but if you can just put it into words how important it was at this 1 match to get yourself to the Worlds and also to get China to the Worlds.
Honestly, before I come to here, my target is just got top 4. But now it's like I just maybe can look a bit further, try to get the champion. I know China region didn't get any player in the grand final, so last night I was so nervous. I know I can't lose, because if I lose, no player in China qualified for the grand final. So yeah, fortunately I win. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pressure. And you said now, I kind of like it where, you've got your spot at the World Championships, but already, actually, I'm going to win this. Not just top 4 is going to be enough. But in this matchup going into it against OldBoy, what were you thinking? Were you confident based on lineup? Did you think you were favored?
I think I think he has favor against me, but I think he watched my video. I want to take the risk to play Shaman first always, so I play Warlock, and I just want to play a mirror match. And I think I have more experience about control Warlocks, those decks, because I have played like 3 years of this kind of decks. So I win that match, and then my Shaman against his Priest and Warrior, I would say it's like 50-50. The toughest match would be like the first one. Yep.
And is there anything, just quickly before we let you go and just calm down after this one, is there anything you want to say to the Chinese fans and everyone else who's here supporting you in this one?
兄弟们不丢人吧?
Okay. What does that mean? You need to tell me because I don't know.
I would say it's not shame to like got top 4.
Oh, okay. Well, you did get your top 4, and let's give another round of applause for Jasonzhou. He's going to the World Championships.
Wow. That means that now, out of the 3 players that have qualified through the Summer Championship, 2 of them have been to a World Championship before. And now, look at what we have coming up next.
And the player who hasn't been, mind you, is, in my opinion, the best player from South Korea with Surrender. It's been a long time coming for him to have one of these big breakout performances. But another one's coming up. Orange, one of the best European players that hasn't made it there yet, and Pavel looking to defend his 2-time title, or his title right now.
Yeah. And what a match it was. Jasonzhou takes the victory over OldBoy, has his sights set on the grand finals now, but don't worry, coming up next, it's going to be a great matchup. We have more Hearthstone action in the final quarterfinal coming up right after this.
Coming up from Blizzard Arena, Los Angeles.